So my particular project is Woodward-Bernstein Protocol, and I should be clear what a protocol is. This is more than just talking back and forth to between two computers. In this case, it's more along the lines of the IP protocol, which is you have a web of connections. Each connection is an abstract component, which could be anything: light, electricity, wireless connection. And then you have software that determines how to move data between two different nodes, even if they don't know about each other and the nodes aren't directly connected. So what is the problem that this particular protocol is trying to solve? There's a blurring that's occurring between sources and journalists. Sources are doing a lot more journalistic work on their own, and they're doing this on some very dangerous topics. These then are pulled, after it's collected, it's pulled back by journalists into a news article, and the sources then are sort of anonymous. They're not part of that publication. They're not known to the general public. And then you have problems that all of the collection of this was an open topic. It was all public on the net. So anyone who was rather unhappy about that particular topic being researched or studied is now basically a sitting duck in the community. You have problems that when reporters are receiving tips, it's difficult to get your data clean. It's difficult to get your data without somebody else knowing who it is that sent it to you. Getting data itself is hard. We would all love to be able to go out and do fact-checking on this. But if fact-checking is going out and checking whether some particular algorithm was written correctly or not, most journalists aren't going to have the background to do this. They need domain experts. And you're not going to have domain experts for every area. The community has a lot of those people, most of whom will give this for free and attach it to articles up front. And we have a problem. There's been some breakthroughs in encryption, and a lot of the stuff we've been using to communicate safely without being eavesdropped along isn't really working very well right now. So my proposal is basically to replace the Submit Tips button. The target audience for this is that regular news journalists, such as, say, the big networks, NBC, Fox, CNN, ABC, will have a few developers who develop software. People download it, and anyone who has this software installed can do a tip. They can attach evidence to these tips. They can put comments or analysis, and they can choose to either be anonymous or they can choose to have their particular component distributed across the entire network. So even though the article, there's not really space and it's not really part of the culture to attach everyone who contributed, the articles themselves are being contributed across the entire public all on their own, so there's no need to actually accredit the person beyond what's already done. For that purpose, I came up with the Woodward-Bernstein Protocol. You have a network of trust networks. We have our Facebook friends. We have our close contacts. Things we could upload directly with web. We can just, if we're really wanting to be careful, we download this stuff into a little USB stick and we hand it off to a friend. This gives the capability for local stories to stay local until they're ready to distribute. Which means if you have a small group of friends that are going to go out investigating that next big story, say you've found the latest scandal, you and your group of friends now have a built-in means to communicate with each other, build the story until you have the evidence collected, and then release it without exposing yourself to everyone up front. You can anonymize yourself. Once it's gone through a couple of hops through the system, the original person is completely impossible to trace. And you can still communicate to a traditional journalist because that journalist is somewhere else on the net. Like the Internet Protocol, you throw the story out and eventually it will make its way through the network using a similar protocol to IP. So the protocol itself, messages are transmitted over links. Instead of being electricity, light, or wireless, this is now media network transmissions like Facebook or Google. Messages are local. You don't actually there is no global copy of the message. No one can go in and pull that message off and say it cannot be transmitted. And every single one, so yes, so you have, and then you have machine learning to be able to do identify what is good and what isn't, to be able to handle what will ultimately be a lot of content on these messages. So that is the Woodward-Bernstein Protocol. Thanks.